What's good? It's your boy CJ Goodfellow. We back with the Boxing Clinic. We up on that morning grind, you dig? And Bob Arum fired some shots in the article of Boxing Scene. I'll link to the description so you guys know that it's true. We did some good work yesterday. We want to bounce back and try to duplicate that today. If you missed the body of work we did yesterday, did a lot of different videos. Talked about, Tyson Fury calling out Tony Bellew, David Haye getting injured, Gary Russell saying he was the most feared. One of the most feared fighters in the world. Talking about a lot of different stuff. Crawford, Thurman, Spence, which was a more competitive fight, the best fight, the fight that the fans wanted to see first. So check the archives, at least for yesterday. Dropped a lot of videos early this morning, but Bob Arum is PO'd at Peter Nelson, and Peter Nelson is the guy who succeeded Ken Hirschman, and that seems to be one of the driving reasons why, Bob Arum was forced to take his talents and his fighters over to ESPN because, Peter Nelson wasn't letting him put on any and every fight. I think the Postal and the Crawford fight, was the beginning. That probably was like the end of the Top Rank era on Showtime because they made that fight go to pay-per-view. And, it was over with when Pacquiao and Horn fought and HBO wanted to pick it up and Bob Arum refused it. And it probably was a great offer. Bob Arum no longer was able to have any free reign over HBO no more with Peter Nelson. And, that was Peter Nelson's, that thing he sought out to do was to, cut the budget, because HBO wasn't doing the numbers that it once done back in the day, where it routinely did 3 or 4 million views. And they wasn't going to let Bob Arum put any BS on no more, like Ken Hirschman let him do. There wasn't going to be no more of those top rank mismatches. It's a lot of them that was going on HBO. They tried to do some Pacquiao crap. Brett Pacquiao and Rios. I mean, the Crawford had a few mismatches on there. They let it get away with like Hank Lundy, Derry John. They didn't want to have that no more. So they were sending Top Rank to True TV. They was making them stream their fights exclusively on the Top Rank stream, or do regular Top Rank pay-per-view without HBO on there. And Bob Arum seen the writer on the wall that Peter Nelson wasn't playing any games. He called Peter Nelson incompetent. And now he's very furious at Peter Nelson because Nelson put a triple header on December 9th with some guy I never heard of versus Orlando Salido, which it should have been Miguel Burchett, but Burchett got injured, or he went to do something else. He got a voluntary fight before the Salido fight. So Bob Arum don't understand why Peter Nelson would try to go head to head to one of the fights that the boxing fans want to see most, with Rigondeaux in New York City versus Vasyl Lomachenko. So it seems like that really ruffled his feathers, and rekindled the flame against HBO. But he called Steven Espinosa a competent, head of Showtime. Basically said, he won't put on no BS fights like Peter Nelson's been gonna be putting on. Like he says, why would they put Saddam Ali in there with Miguel Cotto when Jesse Vargas stopped Saddam Ali and he ain't even the biggest puncher? Now, I gotta agree with that. I don't know, what idea of putting Saddam Ali with Miguel Cotto come in at. If you're gonna put on fights like that, you should just let Top Rank stay on HBO. Because that's not a. I understand they won't let Cotto go out on his own. They're gonna give him some specials, but they could have did better than Saddam Ali. That's a fight that I mean nobody really care to see. Only fact people want to see that fight is because Miguel Cotto is his last fight. But he could have did a lot better than that, man. But like at the end of the day, ever since Cotto came up to 154, other than the Canelo and the Floyd fight, I believe, he ain't did nothing. You know, he really ain't did much. You know, coming up. You know, all the fights mostly was mismatches. Yuri Foreman, you know, Daniel Gill coming down in weight. I mean, Delvin Rodriguez, one-eyed Antonio Margarito. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, he ain't did much. So I ain't surprised. If it wasn't a Canelo rematch, he wasn't going to do much in that division because he didn't want to fight Lara. He didn't want to fight Charlo. And but I agree with Bob Arum. That's a waste of a money fight, you know. And he talked about Lomachenko. I mean, talked about Sergey Kovalev versus Shavansky, which was another BS fight in my opinion. And he got sanctioned for a world title. You guys know I feel like that. Shavansky wasn't even ranked. And he said, why would they put Kovalev in there with an unknown guy like Shavansky? And at the end of the day, Shavansky is a guy that had already been stopped by Sullivan Barrera. And, you know, he hadn't did too much since then. He fought a guy with a losing record, I believe. And then he fought that guy that was 10-0-1. So it ain't like he built himself back up, you know, organically, you know. He didn't really do nothing special. And but he did, you know, but Bob Arum did get credit for Billy Joe Saunders and David Lemieux. He said that was a good fight. And he's definitely on point with that one. That should be a good one. But the other two fights he got on point, you know, ain't good fights. And to be honest, Bob Arum's been killing it on HBO. I mean on ESPN. You know, and he has no choice. He's not gonna be able to get away with the shit that he got away with on HBO to a certain extent. You know, Jose Ramirez, Mike Reed was a good fight. Gilberto Ramirez, Jesse Hart was a good fight. Oscar Valdez was a good fight on that TV station the same night versus the guy he fought, I think, for the Philippines. But, you know, Bob Arum feeling sour grapes because he don't have that HBO platform no more. And basically, he was forced to move off that platform because Peter Nelson wouldn't put the fights on that he you know, he wanted to do. He didn't have power no more. And you can tell the power was shifting when he was doing the interviews, saying that HBO wasn't the promoter, HBO wasn't the matchmaker, HBO didn't have no power. And you can see the writing on the wall around the post on Crawford fight that, you know, they was gonna move on. And rightfully so, you know. That was pretty much his decision. It was over with when HBO wanted to buy Pacquiao Horn and Bob Arum saying, you know, go shove it. And Peter Nelson is a big part of that. He had a good relationship in Bob Arum with Ken Hirschman. He had a good relationship with Steven Espinoza at HBO, I believe, when he was over there. You know, he got too much pride to go over to HBO. I mean, over to Showtime. Even though I believe he did have a relationship with Steven Espinoza, he has too much pride to go over there and say that he needs them and Al Heyman. Because Al Heyman's like the co-president over there, really. And he going to stay on ESPN. And maybe they can return to HBO one day when Peter Nelson leaves. But, you know, Bob Arum, he mad. But it is what it is. We out.